This isn't going to be a video responding to C-Jax, but giving clarity to what C-Jax just does not understand. You see, C-Jax thinks, because WWE is, the shows are garbage. Raw is garbage, SmackDown is garbage. Ticket sales are down. The views for SmackDown and Raw are lowest that there ever been. And he just doesn't understand, and a lot of other people doesn't understand why Triple H isn't fired. Matter of fact, Triple H got paid more. He got a bonus. Even though they cut and released a lot of people, Triple H still got a bonus. And even I want Triple H fired. But the more you look at it, Triple H has brought TKO more money. Vince McMahon could never get someone to pay $10,000 or more to ride a jobber's tour bus. Vince McMahon could never get people to pay over 10 grand for meet and greets. People paying $500, $1,000 to meet jobbers. What's crazy is Bianca Belair, one of the probably the best women wrestler ever, lowered her meet and greet prices to like $200 something. It was like $200. She made it affordable because she knows she has a lot of kids that want to do the meet and greet. Liv Morgan may have some kids that want to do the meet and greet, but it's mainly, goon bait fans, that want to meet and greet Liv Morgan. And then they're doing like the after party stuff now, for thousands of dollars. Vince McMahon never did that, nor I don't think he could have done that. He may, but I don't think Vince McMahon would have done that. You have to think about it. Triple H has people paying 35 grand for one WrestleMania seat. Vince McMahon wouldn't dare. And also, Triple H also has, sold out to where everything is an advertisement. So if Raw and SmackDown 3 hours, you definitely have an hour of just straight commercials. Or more. It's probably more than an hour of just straight commercials. You have ads on the ring, ads everywhere. Ad read. Like we said, it's only a matter of time before the athletes, or better yet, the wrestlers, are going to be wearing ads to the ring, which some of them already did, for their entrance. So Triple H is bringing in enormous amounts of money. Triple H not going anywhere. The problem is the fans. To be honest, it's the fans. If the fans would shut off WWE and stop buying this garbage, then Triple H would get fired. But why would they fire Triple H to bring in somebody else to create good stories, but they won't bring in the amount of money Triple H is bringing in? Now, both could be true. You can make way better stories and still charge people the same amount of money. But for some reason, logic goes like this. I give them garbage, and they spend 10x the money on the garbage. Same thing with gas prices. Gas prices went through the roof, yet I'm seeing way more foot traffic at gas stations. I have yet to pass a gas station and see like one or two cars there. Every time I pass by a racetrack, every, I guess what you call it, stall, is full. You're waiting to get gas at racetrack when they have like 18 pumps. I know one racetrack runs out of gas all the time. And that's just the way it is. Triple H is giving you slop and they're eating it up. Now, is this the Gen Z generation that's doing this? I can't say, because the people that's in the front getting them 35 grand tickets, they look older than 50. I'm not lying. Late 40s, definitely older than 50. Unless you're an influencer that's Gen Z, or an influencer that's a millennial or famous athlete, like I say, I rarely see those people in the front. It almost seems like, those people who were teenagers and adults that were watching it in the 70s and 80s, it seems like those are the ones that are kind of paying for those tickets. Now, the millennials and early Gen Z that were there for the attitude and ruthless aggression era, we are the only ones that hate this product right now. We hate it. But if you were born in the 2000s and above, they don't care. They don't care that they're getting the slop. And truth be told, Triple H has flipped wrestling as we know it on their head. You used to have a good story that led up to the match, and that completed the storyline. What Triple H has done is he looks for the match to create the story and keeps that going forever. That's what Triple H's definition of long-term storytelling is. He gets match of the same slop and tries to find a story in that. Like, pay attention to that. He's making matches to find the story instead of having the story and then the match to complete it. That's Triple H's booking, and Triple H is making money by the ton. Like there's no way Triple H is getting fired. And like I said, it's the fans. If the millennial generation that hates this product, and we stop watching it, if all people that hates WWE go to AEW and just watch AEW, Triple H would still be making the money. Because like I said, if you're paying, when you go from 2,000 to 1,000 that used to be front row at WrestleMania, to the first 3 rows tickets are like 7 to 15 grand on average. It doesn't matter if you used to pay $300, $500 for a ticket. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to sell out to make that amount of money. You know, the old pricing or the average pricing ain't the same no more. You know, Triple H, like I said, is making way more money. You know, if they're willing, if you get 10 people to pay 15 grand for a WrestleMania ticket, and, you know, this goes for the pay-per-views too. You know, some of these pay-per-views are still 7 grand for like front row. You know, if you get those 10 people to pay 7 grand on average, you've made up the money from those mad millennials and early Gen Zers that wouldn't come unless it was $300. You know, you might lose out on 40 people, but those 10 people that paid multiple grand for those tickets ate that cost up. So, to be honest, I want to say the first 10 rows at any wrestling event, no matter what, Raw, SmackDown, those first 10 rows and that entrance way right there, that walkway, that entrance, those tickets right there paid for everything. It doesn't even matter if nosebleeds sell out. You know, you can take away the nosebleed section and you're good. That nosebleed and middle row, you know, the mid section, that's just extra money. You know, based on what the old ticket prices were. So they don't have to sell out no more. Triple H knows this. The merchandise is flying off the shelves. People are buying them dumb belts. And I'm not talking about you want the WWE Championship, you want the World Heavyweight Championship. You know, every kid wants that. You know, even grown adults want those belts. But now they got the NFL belts, the college belts, the NBA belts. Like, people are buying that nonsense. Like, and man, the merchandise, the shirts just look horrible. The shirts, the merchandise is garbage looking, and people are paying an average of $70 for the shirt. Now, you gotta, like, I wanted to get some Bianca Belair shirts to go to a wrestling event, and I'm looking on WWE.com, and I'm like, I'm not paying $69 for a Bianca Belair shirt that doesn't even represent the EST stuff. I mean, it was like some shirt that looked like you would wear to like a nightclub. And it was like $69. And WWE was like, oh, you could get 15% off. So basically, tax-free. I'm not buying that garbage. You know, you do better going to like Hot Topic. They have better WWE stuff than WWE has. You know, it looks more 90s, you know, ruthless aggression era, attitude era. Like, it looks more in line with what a WWE fan would want. But, you know, people like C-Jax, even me, you know, I know why Triple H isn't getting fired. But a lot of these other YouTubers, you know, they just can't fathom why Triple H isn't fired. And the reason Triple H isn't fired is because of the fans. You gotta blame the fans on why Triple H isn't fired.